Let's get started. But first things first, the basics. What is Sailor Loot? Sailor Loot is essentially just onboard credit in Virgin Voyages terminology. They like to say it's their cheeky way of referring to onboard credit, but it's just adding more confusion to people who are not familiar with it. So it's essentially like having real money, but only available once you're on board the ship. That's simple, no complaint. The next question is, of course, how do you get hold of this free money or onboard credit? Well, of course, nothing is free in life, and this is no exception to that, but there are sort of the good ways of getting Sailor Loot and the not so good ways. Now, I just want to be clear, the not so good ways doesn't mean that you have to do something terrible to get hold of it. It's rather that if you're getting Sailor Loot through that method, you have to experience something pretty unpleasant, and so we don't want to have gone through that. Whereas the good ways, again, you're not a great person for having done that necessarily, but it's sort of the easy, direct way where you sought to get it. So let's go through the good ways and the not so good ways. So let's start off with the good ways, or the direct ways in which you can get Sailor Loot that you can actually actively seek out. First things first, you could get it as part of an ongoing promotion. Maybe Virgin are saying, hey, if you book now, we'll throw in, $100 of Sailor Loot. Okay, that's one way. The other way is going to be potentially through a travel agent. What often happens is travel agents, or rather these travel agent agencies and groups, have got certain perks or can offer you sometimes some bit of Sailor Loot depending on the length of stay of your sailing and or how many people they can maybe book and connect you to using something called Circle. Ask them about it, you'll probably see it. It's just essentially that they connect the bookings of several people, and because of that, Virgin kind of viewed it as if there was a group booking and they can give you a little bit extra or some nice stuff. And the other way is essentially coming from some of the commission that they could potentially earn by you booking through them. This is one of the ways they incentivize people to use travel agent. The other method is going to be already once you're on board the ship using the My Next Virgin Voyage voucher. So I've discussed that previously, but in a video, but I will mention it briefly here. And that is, once you're on board, you can go and purchase this sort of voucher, which is you putting down a deposit for a future sailing. All right, let's talk about those bad ways of getting Sailor Loot. So the first thing is going to be, let's say you booked an excursion prior to the sailing for $100. You paid real money for that excursion on the app. And now, a few days before the sailing, or maybe that excursion, you decide, oh, you know what, I actually just don't feel like it, or I found something better, or I just don't want to go. So you cancel it. If it's within a certain window period, they will not be able to give it back to you onto your original form of payment, or method of payment rather. Instead, they're going to, at best, give it to you as Sailor Loot for your account once you're on board the ship. So be aware of that. The other thing is going to essentially be an apology of some sort, or a gesture of goodwill. So, for example, you went on an excursion through Virgin Voyages and something terrible happened. Now you go and complain to Sailor Services and they say, wow, we looked into it, or we're really sorry to hear about that. In the meantime, we're going to be giving you, some percent of that back as Sailor Loot or onboard credit whilst we look into it, okay? So how does Sailor Loot work once you actually have it? So let's say you're now on the ship, your